The question arrives in darkness. Emissaries from the disbelievers of Mecca travel to the people of the book seeking a test, a trap hidden inside a question. They say, ask him about a man who traveled the entire earth. Who is the two-horned one? Where did he go? And what did he build? The answer, when it comes, will be a chapter, Surah al-Kahf, verses 83 to 98. And somewhere inside that answer, behind the wall, something is still digging. The story goes, as Surah al-Kahf tells it, that God gave Dhul-Qarnayn something extraordinary. Not merely armies, not merely gold. He was given the means and power to reach every part of the earth, to defeat enemies and suppress kings. Every road lay open before him. Every pass, every shore, every horizon could be followed. The world is a scroll, and he has been given permission to read it to the end. He does not take tribute. He does not build monuments to his own name. He follows the first path, west, always west, until the world ends. The legend says he reaches the western edge of the world as the sun falls. Not a sunset, a drowning. The great disk sinks into a murky, dark spring. The water the colour of old iron, vast and still and without horizon. This is where the world stops. Scholars have debated for centuries what this spring actually is. A coastal shallow seen at the limit of ancient travel, or something stranger at the rim of the knowable earth. He finds a people here, on the flat shore between the last of the sand and the dark water. God speaks to him directly. O Dhul-Qarnayn, either punish them or show them mercy. Then the story sends him east to the place where the sun rises. And what he finds there is the world's opposite wound, a flat, open plain without a tree, a hill, or a wall, a people living with nothing between themselves and the sky. The Quran states it plainly. God had placed no covering between them and the sun, no roof, no canopy, no shadow before noon. They have learned silence from the heat, the white, merciless, shadowless light that erupts on the horizon rather than rises. The king watches. He does not build for them. God's arrangement for them stands. And the king passes through their bare world like a dark shape through a field of fire. Then the third path opens toward the sound between mountains. The legend says he arrived between two great mountain barriers and found there a people who could barely understand his speech, nor he theirs. Their communication is almost wordless. Gesture, pointing, the posture of people who have not slept without fear in living memory. They press close. They point beyond the ridge, toward a percussion that is not wind, not rockfall, not any natural thing. O Dhul-Qarnayn, the story records their words. Yajuj and Majuj cause corruptions in the earth. Build us a barrier. We will pay you. He refuses the tribute. The story records his exact words, that in which my Lord has established me is better than your tribute. He needs no payment. Everything is already his. What he asks for instead is labor. Give me men with strength, and from the canyon floor, where iron ore stains the creek red, the work begins. Great rectangular ingots are quarried and hauled. The gap between the two cliff faces fills, layer by heavy layer, until a wall rises to the height of the rock faces flanking it. This is not mortar and stone. This is something the world has not seen built before. When the wall stands cliff high and the gap is sealed, the Quranic account describes the next command. Blow. Enormous bellows. Scores of men working in shifts force roaring fire through channels cut at the wall's base. The iron goes cherry red, then orange, then white. The canyon fills with a light that has no source in the sky. The mountain pass at night becomes a false dawn, visible for miles in every direction. The air above the wall shimmers and distorts. Breathing becomes difficult near the heat. The mountain people watch from behind the wall, their faces lit the color of the metal itself. Then the copper, smelted in great cauldrons at the canyon rim, poured from above in thick glowing rivers that cascade down the face of the white-hot iron. When the copper finds a seam, it flows in and fills it. When it cools, it cures to a shining, perfectly curved, ungrippable skin, smooth as a car spell, green where it oxidizes, copper bright where it has not. The legend says, they could not scale it, they could not pierce it. The two peoples, the nameless horde on the far side, could neither climb over nor make a hole in the wall. The iron made it impenetrable. The copper made it unclimbable. Together, they made it something the world had no prior word for. And then he says the words that change everything. The story records them. This is a mercy from my Lord, not this is my achievement, not this is my power. The wall is not a monument to the king. It is a loan from God with a stated expiration. He says it without hesitation. When the promise of my Lord comes, he will level it to dust, and the promise of my Lord is true. He builds knowing the wall will fall. He forges it with full knowledge of its end. That is the logic of the Quranic Dhul-Qarnayn. He acts completely, acts justly, builds the best thing he can build, and calls it temporary in the same breath. For centuries, scholars bent over manuscripts, debating who this man actually was. The earliest commentators, following Ibn Hisham, the Egyptian scholar who died in 833, believed Dhul-Qarnayn was Alexander the Great. But the characteristics do not hold. Alexander was a polytheist, a conqueror who built no such wall, a man of very different moral architecture than the Quran's righteous king. His association with the story comes largely through the semi-mythical Alexander, described in the Alexander Romance, a literary tradition, not a historical one. In 1855, a German philologist named G.M. Redslob proposed a different answer: Cyrus the Great of Persia. The theory found few followers in the West, but it was taken up passionately by Maulana Abul Kalam Azad and later endorsed by major commentators, including Maududi, Javid Ahmed Ghamidi, and Alame Tabatabai. The argument for Cyrus carries a striking piece of evidence. In 1838, a marble statue was found in the ruins of Pasargadae, the ancient Persian capital. The statue bore two horns on the figure's head, representing the unification of Media and Persia. And the Book of Daniel contains a vision of a two-horned ram that, the text states explicitly, represents the kings of Media and Persia. The name itself, the two-horned one, maps onto Cyrus's dual kingdom with an almost uncanny precision. Yet the counter-argument holds. There is no evidence that Cyrus ever built a wall of iron and molten copper. Other scholars have proposed entirely different answers. Ibn Ashur identified Dhul-Qarnayn as Qin Shi Huangdi, the first emperor of China, who began the Great Wall. Some have argued for a Himyarite king of Yemen. The figure resists every attempt to pin him to a specific biography. In the Hadith tradition, in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, the wall does not simply stand and wait. The traditions describe a daily cycle. Every day, Yajuj and Majuj dig through the wall, working their way almost to breakthrough. Then they stop, and when they return the following day, they find it restored to its original state by divine will. The cycle repeats. Every single day, They are almost through. Every single day, the wall renews, until the day God permits them to say, Inshallah, if God wills it. And on that day, they return to find the wall exactly as they left it. The gaps still open, the damage still done. They pour through. The Quran places their release as one of the great signs of the approaching Day of Judgment. The wall still stands somewhere, in the story at least. The legend does not give its coordinates. It gives only its nature. Iron, sealed with copper, built by a king whose face Scripture never shows, whose name the Quran withholds, whose identity 14 centuries of scholarship have not resolved. He came from everywhere and was confirmed by God and answered a people who were barely words to him. He built the thing they needed. He told them it would end. And then he walked away, following whatever path opened next. The question that started this story, the question whispered by emissaries in a dark room in Mecca, was never answered with a name. It was answered with 3 journeys. What the question actually was, scholars are still debating. And somewhere, on the other side of something you cannot see, something is still working on the wall.